Good morning, San Francisco. How's it going this morning? So we're about to get started here. I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Damian Wisniewski. I'm a sales manager here in the San Francisco office. I've been with LinkedIn for 3.5 years. When I started, I actually didn't know, when I was first reached out to by LinkedIn, I didn't know that there was a business-to-business component of LinkedIn. I didn't know that there was a sales team. So these days, I recognize that as a talent branding issue. And now, I'm recruiting people in the Bay Area where we're known as a top employer of salespeople, similar to Chicago and New York. So I've seen the power of first of all, size, right? It's easy to have a good talent brand once you're a larger company, but also just the ability of having my recruiters on the same page as me. I'm someone who I helped hire 29 people in 2011, 20 plus people in 2012, already off to a good start in 2013. So I spent a lot of time in the talent acquisition space myself, and just seeing the power of having my recruiters say, yes, this is a great place to work for a career trajectory. If you want stability, you should look somewhere else. I say that. My fellow managers say that. Everyone knows what we as a company stand for as a place to work and what we don't. So, I'm here to say that the power of that talent brand makes my life as a hiring manager, filling my team, infinitely easier than it was 3.5 years ago. And that's what I hope to help everyone here get started today, is to start to think along these lines, start to understand how much of a difference this type of thing can make. So with that, I'm going to ask Steve Watt to come up. He's our talent branding expert at LinkedIn. And in addition to the attention to detail and knowing that we don't have our camera back there, he's always got his eye out for everything. So thank you, Steve. So Steve is going to help you. Is going to talk to us this morning about just how we think about talent brand at LinkedIn and why we think it's important and how we think it can help. And then you're going to hear from some of our most successful customers here in the Bay Area about how they use our tools, how they use talent brand in their own recruiting efforts and what it's meant to them. So we hope you have an enjoyable morning. There's always a lot more coffee out there, as I've promised before, and at some point we will have our photo booth up and running. So thanks again, and here's Steve.
Thank you, Damian. Thank you. And thank you all for being here. I'm excited to be here. I have spent the past 8 weeks traveling around North America delivering this presentation to talent acquisition leaders such as yourselves in a lot of different places. Chicago, Houston, Miami, Montreal, a number of other cities. And in every city, I deliver the same presentation. Although it's not entirely true. You're going to see on slide 22 this totally decked out Giants fan with the face makeup and everything. I'm not taking that guy to New York next week. Slide 22 we're going to swap out. But aside from that, I deliver the same presentation because talent acquisition leaders face a lot of the same challenges. They also have a lot of the same opportunities. But I'm truly excited to be here in San Francisco today because I really believe that all of that is intensified here. This is a tough, tough talent market, and you guys know it. You guys live it every day. And I sincerely hope and believe that the concepts I'm going to cover and the information that I'm going to deliver will be valuable for you in the talent war that you guys are fighting on a daily basis. I have the tremendous opportunity and pleasure to be part of a team that deals with thousands of companies around the world, from small, local, and regional players all the way up to some of the largest multinationals, and across a huge range of industries. And obviously there's a lot of differences between those organizations, but there's also some things that they share, some things they have in common. And one of those things that they share is an increasing appreciation of the vital importance of talent. Those organizations that consistently hire the best, consistently hire the right people, those organizations give themselves one of the few sustainable competitive advantages that are available today. And another thing that we see in common across these organizations around the world is an increasing appreciation of the vital importance of employer brand in enabling them to achieve those talent outcomes. And that's what I really want to focus on today. So You're gonna hear me say brand a lot. Let's jump in and let's look at some logos and talk about some brands. So you're seeing some logos appear, some pretty well-known logos. I am sure that many of you are having some kind of emotional reaction to one or more of these brands. It may be a positive emotional reaction to a couple of them. It may be negative, and that's okay. If you're having a negative reaction to one of these brands, it probably just means you're not in their target market. I mean, let's face it, the overlap of target market from BMW to Harley-Davidson is not very much. It's okay. They are absolutely okay with the fact that their brands do not resonate with everyone. What's important is that they resonate strongly with the people that they most want to reach. So what does this enable these organizations to do? Well, take a look at their advertising. I mean, they're not talking about product specifications. They're not talking about features and benefits. They're certainly not talking about price. I mean, let's face it, every one of these brands commands a considerable premium in the marketplace. What they're really talking about is you. They're talking about meaning and identity. They're talking about what it means to own these brands, to identify with these brands, to have these brands as part of your life experience. And by doing that, they've managed to elevate themselves above their peers. And in so many ways, they're operating at a higher level than many, many of their competitors. So my question to you is, what if you could do that? What would it mean if you could do that? Not with your consumer brand, I'm talking about your employer brand. What would it mean if you could harness that kind of power to create a community of fans, a community of people who truly identify with what your business is all about? And what if you could tap into that community to hire better, faster, less expensively? What would that mean? What if you could elevate yourself like those brands have above a lot of the day-to-day details of compensation and other tangible factors of a role, because people truly identify with your organization and what you stand for, and they want to be part of it? I mean, what would that mean for your company if you could get there? What would it mean for your recruiting team if you could take your organization there? What would it mean to you personally if you could lead that? Now, you may say, okay, hang on a second, Steve. Global consumer brands, my company, not a fair comparison. And while it's true that those organizations are huge global brands, unlike them, you don't need everyone to know your name. Even in the smallest organization, you can harness into the power of this because you don't need everyone to identify with you or know your name. You only need the right people, the very right people. So what I'm going to focus on today is how you think about that, how you really get down into the true DNA of your organization, to really think about what is really intrinsic to the motivations of the people who succeed in your organization, because you want more of them. And then you want to build up from that, build up a powerful and authentic talent brand, employer brand that you bring to market, and it draws those people in. And we're going to talk about how you do that by borrowing some concepts from marketers. And also we're going to look at some examples of some organizations that have done a great job in that regard. And the big takeaways, as I see it, doesn't matter what I put into this presentation. What matters is what you take out of it. And the big takeaways that I am committing to you are: one, brand is powerful. Brand is game-changing. Brand fuels your talent acquisition outcomes across so many different ways. Number two, brand is for every organization. This is absolutely not just something for big companies or rich companies or sexy industries. This is for every organization, regardless of industry, regardless of location. And I would go further than that and say that it is particularly important if you're in a small organization, if you're geographically far-flung, if you're in a non-sexy industry. It's even more important for you to really focus on brand because you know who you're up against. And number three, brand is now. Social media has fundamentally changed the marketplace, fundamentally changed it in ways that enable you to do things that you couldn't possibly have done even 5 years ago without a very substantial advertising and marketing budget. Social media has opened up an amazing field of opportunity for organizations large and small. And so that's what I'm going to deliver. I'm going to come back to this slide at the end, and I want you to call me on it. If I have not delivered the vital importance of brand, the fact that it is truly for every organization, and the fact that the time is now, I want you to call me on it, because I sincerely believe this. And I really want to make a strong argument also that there's a strong business case for this. This is not a vanity exercise. This is not marketing for marketing's sake. There's a strong business case for getting brand right. Look at that number. Those organizations with a strong employer brand have a cost per hire as much as 50% lower than organizations with a weak employer brand. 50%. Think what that means to your bottom line. And it's not just about acquisition, it's also about retention. Organizations with a strong employer brand retain their people better. Makes sense. You guys know this. We have great access to talent acquisition leaders around the world. We ask them a lot of questions. And when we asked them recently how important they see employer brand, is employer brand an important part of attracting top talent? 83% of your peers said, yeah, it's important. We know it's important. This isn't a surprise to people. The spend follows that understanding. Even at a time when recruitment leaders are being challenged to do more with less, they're not cutting spend on brand. In fact, more than half are increasing brand spend, and almost all of the rest are at least maintaining brand spend. People understand that this really matters. And another way we know that it's vital, we ask people a lot of questions, talent acquisition leaders. We ask them a lot of questions about trends, about competitive threats, about where they're focusing. And no matter what the question, again and again, brand filters up as one of the top answers. And I want to do a bit of a full stop here to talk about language. We're seeing an evolution, the language, from employer brand, a term that's been in our shared vocabulary for a couple of decades, towards talent brand. And it's a small change linguistically, but the forces that are driving that are actually really important, and that's why I want to focus on it for a minute. Your marketers in your organization, they've known for a long time that the game has changed. No longer do they hold the megaphone. We're not in a broadcast advertising and marketing world anymore where the organization with the biggest ad budget can just bulldoze their way into success. In a social media world, your marketers understand that there's a conversation going on every day about your products and services, and they don't own that conversation. They have an obligation and an opportunity to wade into that conversation, and participate, and hopefully sway it in ways that are positive for your organization, but they don't own it anymore. And that's what's happening in our world, in the talent world. No longer does, the wording employer brand sort of suggests the old school where you could just sort of position around what it means to work at your organization, broadcast it, and people would accept it or decline it. But what's happening now is there's a conversation that you don't own anymore. This conversation happens amongst the talent, amongst your employees, your former employees, your prospective employees, the employees of your competitors and your suppliers and the general communities in which you operate. This conversation is happening. You don't have the luxury of having an employer brand or not, having a talent brand or not. It's there, it's happening. What you have, just like your marketers, you have an obligation and an opportunity to wade into that conversation and try to sway it in positive ways. But you don't own it, the talent owns it. And that's why increasingly at LinkedIn, we're speaking in terms of talent brand rather than employer brand. I'll probably use both terms interchangeably. I think we're all kind of adapting to this changing talent. It's not like a hard and fast thing. I just want you to understand when you hear LinkedIn talking increasingly about talent brand, that's why. So brands are powerful things. And a really cool thing is that we, in our world, we don't need to reinvent the wheel. We don't need to recreate things here. Marketers have been dealing with this stuff for a long, long time. What I want to do is I want to look at some of the core principles that marketers use and just pull them into our world. Because make no mistake, your consumer brand and your talent brand are two completely different things, but the underlying principles of brand stewardship and brand success, brand development, they're the same. So we can just take some core principles from marketers, pull them into our world, and use them to our best advantage. So we're going to talk about the power of brands, how marketers think about all this stuff, your talent brand, so that connection between consumer and talent. We're going to hit hard on this idea. As I said before, this is truly for every organization. And we're going to talk about going to market with it, and then how you measure it, because measurement has been a really tough thing. And we're going to dig a little deeper on measurement, because LinkedIn has brought some really cool new measurement tools where none really existed before. So let's talk about brands. Let's step back. Let's step way back. The beginning of brands, right? Where does this come from? Well, branding cattle, right? Simple identification. How do we tell my cows from yours? Let's pop our names on them. That's all it was. But of course, over time, brands have evolved and developed and taken on much more meaning. With the dawn of the consumer packaged goods industry, brand came to be much more than simple identification. Packaging and advertising came together to create identities for products. Brand became really, really powerful. And today, brand is a lot of things, but in really simple terms, I would suggest that brand is identity. More than identification, identity. Brand is a quality promise, and brand is a decision-making shortcut. And what I mean by that third point is think about all the decisions you have to make in your day-to-day life. You're gonna go buy shampoo at the supermarket or the drugstore. Are you gonna do a rational feature-benefit analysis of the 100 different options in front of you? You couldn't possibly. That'd be ridiculous. You're gonna use brand as a shortcut. Or let's say you're gonna buy your next car. More than 400 makes and models of cars are available today in the US. And even after you carve out all the ones that are totally not at the right price point for you and your family, there's still dozens of choices. Are you gonna test drive them all, read consumer reports on all of them, really put them head to head on a really true feature benefit analysis? Of course you're not. That would be ridiculous. You'd have no time to live the rest of your life. You're gonna use brand as a shortcut. You gravitate towards certain brands because you identify with them, and you push away from other brands because you don't. This is at the heart of consumer marketing, and I propose it's at the heart of talent marketing as well. Your talent brand is the identity of your organization in that talent communication, in that talent conversation. Your talent brand is a promise to your employees and your prospective employees. And your talent brand is also a decision-making shortcut. Don't you want to get that decision-making shortcut working for you? If you can truly become an in-demand employer, an employer of choice, that becomes a decision-making shortcut for talent. They want to work for you. That's a powerful thing if we can harness it. Brand is also a powerful motivator. Now, I may be dating myself a little bit here, but I'm sure many of you remember the Pepsi Challenge. City after city, week after week, month after month, year after year, Pepsi went and challenged cola drinkers to a blind taste test, Coke against Pepsi. And again and again and again in that blind taste test format, Pepsi prevailed. Pepsi was the objective choice preference of the majority of cola drinkers. So we're all rational creatures, we all operate rationally, so surely Pepsi shot ahead of Coke, right? Pepsi dominates the cola landscape now because they won the Pepsi Challenge, right? Well, not even close. Coke is a profoundly powerful brand. Pepsi, the blue line, they gained market share during those years, sure, but it wasn't at Coke's expense. They're the red line there. Coke continued to grow. Coke is one of the most profoundly emotionally evocative consumer brands in the world. They weren't losing any sleep over this. Look who's dropping. The green line, that's all the secondary brands, supermarket brands, unbranded colas falling off the table. This is the power of brand. I also love this story, another power brand, Harley-Davidson. Here is a brand that a lot of people don't identify with. A lot of people have a negative connotation of Harley. A lot of people don't care one way or the other. But for that segment of the population that identifies with Harley, they identify deeply. It speaks to them, speaks to their soul. They identify deeply. So what do you do if you're a Harley man? You don't just own a Harley, you're a Harley man, and you live in a northern climate. You can't ride your Harley all year. What do? That's an identity problem you've got. Well, you brand your truck, right? You're gonna drive that in the winter. Probably gonna brand your skin. You might even brand your kids. I mean, that's hardcore, right? The segment of the population that loves Harley loves it deeply. That's the power of brand. Here's slide 22. We all want to be part of something that's bigger than us. We all want something that adds extra meaning to our lives. Brands often do that. Sports affiliation does that. There's lots of ways we can do it, but where do we spend more time than anywhere else? What consumes us more than anything else? It's work. So what does it mean to work for your company? How do you derive meaning from that? I don't mean what's your job title or what does your company sell? I mean, what does it mean? That's a really hard question for many of us to answer, isn't it? But we kind of have to get there. If we're going to peel back the onion and develop an authentic, powerful talent brand that we're going to take to market and create this community of fans who are drawn to us because we have a value alignment, and we got to figure out what it means to work for our organization. We all work for a lot of reasons. Those are all important reasons to work, but they're not all meaning. You can't be about all that stuff. You got to be about something that you can enunciate much more simply than all that stuff. Because I'll tell you, what motivates people in different environments is really, really different. There's no one-size-fits-all meaning, no one-size-fits-all brand. I mean, look at your A players. They're a great place to start, right? Look at the A players in your organization. What motivates them? What gets them jumping out of bed, coming to work to crush it every day for you? Because be absolutely clear, they don't have to work for you. Your A players do not have to work for you. They choose to work for you. A players, by their very definition, have choices. They could walk down the street and work for your competitor tomorrow. And it can't just be about money. Presumably your A players are making some pretty good money, but that can't be the only thing that keeps them because they could get a great paycheck somewhere else. There's something about your A players, there's some kind of value alignment there, intrinsic motivator alignment that makes them love it and crush it. So look at them, because you want more like them, and I guarantee you that what drives the A players in this environment is way different than what drives the A players in this environment, or this environment. So look at yours. What drives them? Talk to yours. What drives them? Speaking of talking, this is to remind me to talk about an employer brand playbook, which is a really rich and tactical document that we're going to make available to all of you that has many, many pages of questions to ask, areas to explore, examples of companies that are digging deep in this and learning some really profound things about their organization. It's going to be available for all of you to download. I urge you to take it because it's kind of the tactical piece. I'm kind of doing the overall education inspiration piece. The talent brand playbook is the tactical where the rubber meets the road to really take this back to your organizations and drive positive change. So please download it. You'll get an email later on today or tomorrow. Download it, take a look at it, discuss it with your teams. I believe there's some really good stuff in there. So I said we're not going to reinvent the wheel. We're going to take concepts from brand marketers, we're going to pull them into our world and make them work for us in talent. So how do consumer marketers think about brand attributes? Well, a brand's got to be relevant to the target audience. Pretty straightforward. It's got to be consistent in order to build trust. Now think about it. You can't reinvent yourself day after day, year after year, or it's fake. Brands, powerful brands, build trust because they're consistent. It doesn't mean they can't evolve over time. Of course they can. But they can't keep reinventing themselves and repositioning themselves, or they lose trust amongst their audience. Brand is not a logo. It's not a color scheme or a catchphrase. Brand is true meaning and identity. It's got to be consistent over time. It's got to be credible. You have to deliver on your promises. It's got to inspire. Think about Harley-Davidson. Think about Coke. Think about Starbucks and Apple and some of those brands we looked at the beginning. It's got to inspire. Not everyone. It's got to inspire the right people. And it's got to be unique. It's got to be set apart from its competitors. Not necessarily totally unique in all the world, but unique relative to the competitive set that it's up against. And I would say that all of those are completely true for talent brand as well. Relevance, consistency, credibility, absolutely vital in our world. Inspiring the right people and setting yourself apart from your talent competitors. You know who you're up against. What do they stand for? I'm challenging you to enunciate your own value proposition and your own meaning. I would also challenge you to enunciate that of your competitors. What do they stand for? If you all stand for the same thing, you've got a brand problem. Or if you don't know what you stand for and you don't know what they stand for, you've got a brand problem. You need to be able to enunciate these things because that's where you build from. Back to BMW, another thing that consumer marketers think a lot about is segmentation. BMW is a great example here. BMW is the ultimate driving machine. German engineering, high performance, high quality. This is true of every vehicle that BMW makes. But they speak a little bit differently across their various models because the needs and the intrinsic motivators of a 20-something aspiring professional are quite different from a 50-something senior executive. They talk about their different products differently because the target market is different, but it all has to be true to the overarching brand message of what BMW means. And this is true for Talent Brand as well. What is your organization about on a high level? But the way you really enunciate that to salespeople versus executives versus engineers, it's going to be a little bit different based on their needs and their motivations. But it has to be true to the overarching brand, the overarching meaning of your organization, or else you lose credibility and authenticity. Another way, so we talked about looking at the A players, we talked about looking at the segments, and we talked about different ways to get down to the heart of your organization, into the DNA of the real meaning. Another way I like is to think about who are the heroes in your organization. Every organization has heroes. Every organization has people, present employees, perhaps executives, perhaps even past employees or leaders that you look up to, and they're kind of heroes within your organization. Looking at those people tells you a lot about what it's really about in your organization. Why are they your heroes? I think back through my career. I started my career at Staples when we were rolling that brand and that organization out across the country. And at that time, I would classify that as a warrior culture. We worked really, really hard. I was a buyer at the head office, and I'd spend my day on assortment planning and negotiating deals and advertising and all this stuff. And I'd spend my nights in the stores merchandising my product because no one else was going to do it. I mean, we were that lean and mean. And many of us would spend long, long, physically hard days setting up those stores because we knew that in the morning it was going to be another grand opening with hundreds of people lining up for our door crasher specials. And that store was opening at 8 a.m. whether we were ready or not. That was hard, hard work. And one night when we were all fatigued, one of the guys took a sticker off of one of the pallets. It said, "Do not break down." It meant, of course, don't cut open the shrink wrap, don't merchandise this pallet. He took that sticker off and he put it on his chest. And he was like, "Do not break down." And we all had a good laugh about it because we all felt like we were close to breaking down. He kind of lifted us up. And we fought through the night. We had another successful opening. And we always remembered that moment because it kind of galvanized that warrior culture that we all bought into. That's what it took to succeed at that organization at that time. That's who we wanted more people who lived that, because those were the people that we needed to succeed. That was at the heart of our authentic talent brand at that time. And then years later, I worked at a completely different company, a really innovative, creative toy company called Spin Master. We didn't care how hard you worked, not in any traditional sense of the word. Our heroes weren't the hardest working people. In fact, we kind of questioned why they had to work so hard. Maybe they weren't quite as sharp as some of their colleagues. We valued the creatives. Our heroes were the people who created that amazing new product, or that new advertising jingle, or that new TV campaign that cut through the craziness of Saturday morning TV and made our toys the next must-have brand for kids. Those were our heroes. That's what it took to succeed. That's who we needed more of to continue to grow. And that was at the heart of our authentic talent brand. So look at your heroes. Ask yourself, who are your heroes? Why? What does it tell you about your organization? Because the heroes here, probably way different than the heroes here, and way different again from the heroes here. At the end of the day, we need engaged people, and we are driven by pride. We're all driven by pride. Pride in what we do, pride in how we do it, pride in who we do it with. Pride is a powerful motivator. Do some of you remember this advertising campaign? Best job in the world. It was actually an advertising campaign for the Australian Tourism Board a number of years ago, but it captured people's imagination with this idea of the best job in the world. 6 months living in paradise, $150,000 pay for 6 months. Not bad. Really a brilliant advertising campaign that got traction around the world. But when I see it, what I think about is the notion of having the best job in the world. What a powerful thing that is. I've seen a number of my colleagues at LinkedIn stand in front of an audience and say with absolute sincerity, I have the best job in the world because I've done it myself. I've stood up and said, I have the best job in the world because, and I mean it, because when you're the right person doing the right thing at the right time with people that you identify with and a mission that you identify with, and everything's coming together, it is a profoundly powerful experience. It's incredibly uplifting, and I hope and I'm sure that some of you feel exactly that right now. And I hope that we could get to a point where we all feel that. I mean, that may be overreaching, but what a great goal. What if we could get to a point where everyone in your organization is so beautifully aligned with their role and with the meaning of your organization that everybody feels that they have the best job in the world? Reaching high, yes, but a great place to reach for. Here's a company that I think is doing a great job of that. Sungevity. They are democratizing solar. Solar for the people. Solar panels on rooftops of one house after another after another. They are a powerfully mission-driven organization, and everything that they talk about, when you look at their career pages and you look at their recruitment advertising, they're not talking in conventional terms. Joining a crusade, saving the world, addressing the environmental issues of our time. That's powerfully evocative language for some people. Some people don't care about that, and Sungevity's fine with that. They don't want those people. They want the people for whom this is highly engaging motivational language. Passion. You see it again and again in everything that they do. That does not appeal to a lot of people, but it appeals very, very strongly to some. Think about Harley Davidson. Harley Davidson doesn't care if I don't identify with the brand. It's all about engaging the right people who are going to care deeply. Sungevity does a great job of that. I don't think any kid has ever grown up saying, you know, when I'm an adult, I want to work for a seafood processing plant. That sounds sexy. Tough employer branding challenge if you're in the seafood processing and salmon farming market. Oh. Marine Harvest has taken that head on. Look at what they say. Stable year-round employment located in some of the most beautiful places in the world. And it's true. That's where you live if you work for Marine Harvest. Vancouver Island. Remote, beautiful, natural. Absolutely fundamentally different than living in San Francisco or Chicago or New York. Completely different and completely not of interest to a lot of people. A lot of people would go stir crazy living there. But some people, wow, that's powerful. Imagine how different it is to live there, to work there, to raise a family there. Imagine how different that is from in a big city. And while it doesn't appeal to a lot of people, for those it does appeal, it appeals strongly. And those are the people that Marine Harvest wants to get in touch with. Those are the people they want to attract because those are the people who will excel there. They're the people who will stay. It's a powerful lifestyle-driven vision. So this is not a one-size-fits-all thing at all. You need to do all the things I said before about getting into the heart of your DNA and your true meaning and figure out really what it is about your organization that you can wear on your sleeve and you can be bold and proud about, like Sungevity does, like Mission Harvest does, Marine Harvest does. It's a powerful thing when you get it right. Back to Marine Harvest, the people who care about that, the people who want to live there, they probably care a lot about sustainability, environmental sustainability, and so does Marine Harvest. They probably care a lot about community. Marine Harvest is deeply embedded in their community, supporting hundreds of organizations. The names you see there, that's just the beginning. That list goes all the way down to the floor. Hundreds of organizations Marine Harvest is engaged with and supports because that has real meaning to their people. So, what's your talent brand? That's where it's all leading, of course, right? Can you enunciate yours? Can you get to that level of clarity that those organizations have? Because if you can, it's a powerful, powerful thing. Because you're going to take it to market. Now, I need to be clear here. I've kind of presented this for the sake of clarity in the presentation as if it's a sequential process of like build it and then take it to market. That's not really the case. This is an iterative process. This is an ongoing thing where you're constantly understanding your meaning, bringing it to market, engaging in that talent communication or that talent conversation, learning, iterating, improving, measuring. It's an ongoing thing. You're going to be doing this for the rest of your careers. But for clarity of presentation today, I've sort of broken it out into, okay, how do you build it? Now how do you take it to market? So let's move into that piece. You got to take it to market in a lot of different ways. You've got to live it every day with your employees. I mean, let's be clear, in a social media world, employee referrals are not less important. They're more important and more authentic than ever before. You got to live it with your employees or you're going to be sorely missing on that piece. You got to live it in your community. Powerful word of mouth, powerful reputation happens within your community and the way you engage. Of course, you're going to live it on social media. YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, lots of other platforms. Those are obviously three of the most important ones. incredibly powerful. No longer do you need a multi-million-dollar advertising and marketing budget to bullhorn your way into people's consciousness. You can use social media so effectively to really roll back the blinds, roll back the curtains, and give people an insight into the true nature of life in your organization. And the challenge is to go beyond just tweeting some jobs. Go beyond posting some photos of your Christmas party on Facebook. I'm talking about real engagement, really building communities, engaging in communities, developing conversations. When you're authentic and you empower people to do this in a real authentic way, it can really power what you're doing across social media. And of course, LinkedIn has become a vital piece in all of this, a vital place where talent meets opportunity. I want to do a bit of a deep dive on LinkedIn right now, not surprisingly. Why LinkedIn has become so important, how to make your company shine on LinkedIn, how to make your employees shine, and how to make your career opportunities shine. And I specifically say career opportunities, not open recs or job openings or whatever, because this understanding around career opportunities and how fundamentally different passive talent recruitment is from active talent recruitment is really at the heart of success on LinkedIn. So we're going to cover those things. First off, why LinkedIn? Well, massive growth, right? Over 200 million members globally now, growing at an astounding rate. I think it's 1 million new members every 4 days now globally. The metrics keep accelerating such that it gets hard for many of us to remember exactly what it is. But the membership is growing through the roof. It's amazing here in the US and of course globally as well. A profoundly large and deep penetration of the professional workforce around the world and growing every day. 87% of the Fortune 100 companies using our corporate solutions, incredible growth. So why are all these people on LinkedIn? And this is important to talk about because I think some people are still suffering from the misconceptions that were, maybe they were true 5 years ago. This idea that, you go on LinkedIn because you're looking for a job. And that might have been true at some point. It's absolutely not the case today. When we survey our members, why are you on LinkedIn? Job search comes in like 5th. That's not why people are on LinkedIn. People are on LinkedIn because it has become the place where they project their professional brand, their professional identity to the world. It's become an absolutely vital part of your positioning yourself as a professional within your company, within your marketplace, and within the broader world. It's also a place where people are getting amazing insights to get better at doing their jobs. I mean, the information you can get on LinkedIn today, like hot off the press publications from the world's leading business journals and industry journals and other sources bubbling up based on the industries that you're most interested in and those things that are being most shared by your network bubbling up to you on LinkedIn today, where you can in 10 minutes get on top of your industry every morning. That's a powerful thing. And now with our ability to follow luminaries, we call it the LinkedIn influencers, a few hundred of the top business and political and intellectual leaders in the world, you can follow them. I don't think that Barack Obama or Richard Branson, I don't think they want to connect with me on LinkedIn. But I am very interested in what they have to say. I didn't used to have a way to know what they said, but now I do. I follow those guys. I follow a couple dozen other luminaries, and they're increasingly using LinkedIn as a primary publishing platform where they're doing long-form posts. They're basically blogging on LinkedIn, and it's going out right that minute to everyone who's following them on LinkedIn. That gives you amazing insights to get better at your career, better at your job today. And we know that people are doing this because we look at our mobile traffic. More than 25% and growing rapidly of our traffic comes from tablets and smartphones. And that wouldn't happen if LinkedIn hadn't become a crucial part of the daily life of professionals. If you're pulling out your tablet or your iPhone or your Android and you're checking out LinkedIn when you're on the go, when you're heading into a meeting, it has become part of your professional life. And we see that increasingly true as those mobile numbers increase. That's what people are doing on LinkedIn. And what, of course, that creates is amazing opportunities for recruitment. Traditional recruitment has focused on that semi-active and active group. We poll our members and we say, are you looking for a job? What's the status of your career right now. And year after year, the numbers are consistent. Less than 20% of the workforce, less than 20% of the members of LinkedIn are actively or semi-actively looking for a job. Those that are active, they go to job boards, they go to your career website, they have an up-to-date resume, they're ready to go. They're unemployed, they're unhappily unemployed, or unhappily employed, they're underemployed, whatever it is. They're hot to trot, they want to see your job descriptions, they want to get on with their next role. But that's only 18 or 20% of the market. The real powerful opportunity here is in those deep blue waters of passive talent, and traditional recruitment has not been focused there. It's been really hard to focus there. They don't go to the job boards. They don't have up-to-date resumes. It's really expensive. You can absolutely, recruitment agencies are fantastic at working those waters, but at a high price. It's hard to scale there. LinkedIn makes it possible to fish those deep waters like never before. But you need a different approach. I said your career opportunities. You need a different approach there, because if you take your mindset and your systems from active talent recruitment and try to apply it to passive talent, you're not going to be successful. When the first thing you ask for from someone is, hey, send me a resume and then we can talk. No, I haven't updated my resume in years, and I'm not going to do it for you, out of the blue. I could spend 2 hours tonight updating my resume, or I could spend 2 hours tonight playing with my kids. I'm going to choose my kids every time, unless you've engaged me, really engaged me. When you make that mind shift and start really understanding that passive talent doesn't need a job, they've got a job. They might have a great job. They might be super happy, but maybe there's something better in your organization, maybe. And if you reach out to them in a really consultative way, like, hey, where are you at in your career? What's next for you? What's working, what isn't working? Maybe there might be something over here, not sure. Are you interested in exploring it? Would you like to have a bit of a conversation? Most people will take that call. But if you lead off with give me your resume, or you lead off with a boring job description full of point form, requirements, delete. It's a different mindset to be successful in passive talent recruitment. And those who do it well are really successful, because people do want to hear from you. We ask LinkedIn members, how do you feel about being approached by a recruiter unsolicited? Does it bother you? 95% say, no, it doesn't bother me, with a really strong caveat, of course. It's got to be relevant. Don't talk to me about things that are totally out of my area, be it out of my industry, out of my level in the career world. But if it's relevant, yeah, I'll have that conversation. As I said, you just got to have a very different approach. You got to think about it very differently. Put yourself in the shoes of that passive talent. What would cause you to be willing to engage with a recruiter? That's all the why. Why is LinkedIn important? That's the opportunity. So for the how do you make your company shine on LinkedIn? Well, first off, have a great homepage. Every company gets a free homepage. Use it well. If you're not, or you're not entirely sure who in your organization is owning that, go back and get on that. This is free. It's there for you. It's a great opportunity to showcase your company. Increasingly, people are searching. We're moving into an area of specialized search. And what I mean by that is you'll see articles in the press saying that product searches on Amazon are way up. A lot of people don't go to Google anymore to search for a product, because it just seems an unnecessary step. They know they're going to end up on Amazon anyways, so they go to Amazon, search for the product. Now they're right into reading consumer reviews and everything else. They're bypassing the generic search. You see it in real estate as well, Zillow and others. People are increasingly going right there to do a specialized search for real estate rather than starting at a search engine. And I propose that that's increasingly happening with companies and people who work for them. People are increasingly doing company searches on LinkedIn. It's going to take them right to your company page. If you don't have a strong company page, big lost opportunity. And as I said, it's free. You can do targeted status updates from that company page. You know how we can all do status updates from our own profiles that go out to our network? Well, companies can send status updates to their followers, to people who've raised their hand to follow that organization. And our studies show that 70% of people who follow your company are interested in hearing about career opportunities at your company. That's a huge audience of hand raisers. Take advantage of them. And with targeted status updates, it's not a one-size-fits-all message. You can send one message to engineers, different message to salespeople, different message to folks in Europe. It's a powerful thing, and again, it's free. Your product and services page, another great opportunity to make your company shine. Build out sections for the different core products, core service areas, whatever it is. Partner with your marketing and your communications team to make sure you're nailing this. People can go in there and recommend your product. It goes viral through their networks. It's a powerful piece of marketing, and it's there for you for free. And then when you move into the paid solutions, now we're getting into LinkedIn's paid corporate solutions. A career page is the hub. It's the home of your talent brand on LinkedIn. And all kinds of other things that you're doing are feeding into that. And I'm also seeing a lot of companies now that they're starting to de-emphasize their corporate website, the career section of their corporate website, and they're truly making their LinkedIn career page their hub where they want to drive everything into there. Because studies show that people don't like to leave platforms. This is true on LinkedIn, Facebook, anywhere else. If you're on Facebook and you're looking at something, you are much more likely to go to another part of Facebook than you are to go off Facebook. And it's true with LinkedIn as well. When someone hears about your company, hears about your people, hears about your opportunities, they are far more likely to click through to your LinkedIn career page than they are to leave LinkedIn and go to your corporate page. So this is a powerful hub for all of your employer branding and all of your recruitment activities. So that's how you make your company shine. Making your people shine. This is a really important one. We have an unparalleled opportunity to make all of us and all of our people ambassadors for our organizations. Brand ambassadors for what we sell, but also talent brand ambassadors. Think about it from the perspective of a passive candidate. You're working away, you're approached by somebody in some way, you don't know who they are. Well, first thing you're gonna do is you're gonna click through and you're gonna check out the recruiter. Who is this? What are they all about? You're also probably gonna look for the hiring manager. Who might I be working for if I were to join this organization? Who are the executives? Do they inspire me? If I'm finding a whole bunch of people from your organization and they all look like fantastic, engaged, excited people, you're starting to warm me up. I'm way more likely to warm to become a candidate for you. If I'm not finding you or I'm finding really bare bones information, I'm probably not too inspired and I'm probably gonna move on. You have an opportunity to really engage the power of social media when you encourage all of your people to be on LinkedIn with robust, exciting profiles that make themselves look good and also make your organization look good. Here's a great example. Director of Talent Acquisition, Stacy. She's a big LinkedIn advocate. She's been very, very successful with our corporate tools. One of the first things she did is she said, well, I need my own profile to look great. And the best example I've seen of this is one of my colleagues at LinkedIn. He used to be a agency recruiter, and his profile was totally about himself, his fill metrics, all this kind of stuff. Completely alienating to any candidate who looked at his profile. They just felt like they were another notch on his belt. And one day the light went on and he changed his profile to become all about the candidate experience and how I can transform your career. And he said it just dramatically improved his ability to succeed with passive talent recruitment. So think about your own profile and who your market is. Are you addressing them in a way that they want to be addressed? And then roll it out to your team. So what Stacy did is she said, well, you know what? I would love it if everybody in my organization bought into this. We'll get there in time. But for now, I need my entire recruitment team. I need all of my hiring managers and I need all of my executives to get it and to have strong profiles that are helping to warm up passive talent. It could be as simple as a lunch and learn in your office, a tip sheet that you distribute amongst your organization, and of course, leading by example. So we've got your company shining on LinkedIn. We've got your people shining on LinkedIn. Now let's get your career opportunities shining on LinkedIn. And LinkedIn is able to do this in a couple of ways. So I'm always talking about the candidate experience. Here's Addison. She is an account executive at the very authentically named Acme Systems here in San Francisco. When Addison is on her homepage on LinkedIn, she sees jobs you may be interested in. We know that she's a sales executive. We know she's in the Bay Area. We know her level of experience. and we are able to match the jobs that are most appropriate for her. So Addison is not looking for a job. She's here for whatever other reason she's using LinkedIn, but she sees those jobs, they catch her eye. That's actually how I came to LinkedIn. I was happily and successfully employed elsewhere. I saw a job you may be interested in at LinkedIn, and I thought, wow, that sounds cool. And I did all the things that I'm saying passive candidates do. I did exactly that, and it turned out to be the best move ever for me. I'm so happy. Never would have happened without jobs you may be interested in. She can, of course, click through and see more jobs, but those ones that come up here are even more powerful. And we now have an opportunity to sponsor those jobs, which is a new thing where you can make sure that your job pops right to the top of the list of things that are going to be relevant for Addison. Now, another place where she's going to see opportunities, the number one activity on LinkedIn is visiting the profile of your first-degree connections, the people in your network. It makes sense, right? We're all interested in what our former colleagues and former classmates and everybody's doing. And also, there's usually a lot of alignment in what types of people there are. I guarantee you, if you employ engineers and you were to look at their networks, they'd have scads of other engineers in their networks. And your salespeople probably have lots and lots of other salespeople. You know, birds of a feather flock together. It's true. So Addison is visiting the profile of one of her former colleagues, Jim, and she sees her own picture on Jim's profile. Now imagine, boom, what that does to her attention. There's only one display ad on a LinkedIn profile, and if you go look at yours now, good chance it's a car ad or a printer or travel or something. You have the opportunity to own that real estate on every one of your employees' profiles. So when other engineers visit your engineers' profiles, they see an ad about working at your company. And the click-through rate on those ads, 20 times industry average. 20 times. You know, why is it so high? Well, when you see your own picture, you can't help but look. And when you see picture yourself in this new job, Addison sees this, like her and her potential new title. She can't help but click on that and start down that path of exploring and learning and slowly warming up her candidate experience. 20 times industry click-throughs. That's an incredibly powerful tool. And what I propose to you is that all of this is table stakes for success in 2013 and beyond. Thinking long and hard about your talent brand, bringing it together, bringing it to market in a way that you can clearly enunciate it, living it with your employees, living it with your community and on social media, and then on LinkedIn, really embracing the opportunities to make your organization shine, make your people shine, and make your opportunities shine. And when you get all of that, you are positioned for success today and beyond. But there is an opportunity to go further than that if you want to take this to a whole higher level and not just attract the right people, but proactively identify them, find them, reach out to them, and engage them. We've got a beautiful tool for that, LinkedIn Recruiter. I'm going to call my colleague Devin up to take you quickly through this. He could spend an hour showing you all the details of this. It's an incredibly powerful tool. He's just going to give you a real quick overview and just give you an idea of the power of LinkedIn Recruiter.
Great. Thank you, Steve. Appreciate the oversight on talent brand. Who here has actually seen LinkedIn Recruiter before? Oh, quite a few people. OK, so review for the people who have seen it, and then we'll go into a little bit of detail on some of the changes that have happened on LinkedIn Recruiter in the past. So I'm going to just hop out of here. Perfect. So my name is Devin Avila. I'm an enterprise account executive at LinkedIn. I worked with some of the fastest growing companies and largest companies around. And a few key differences you're going to want to think about when you think about LinkedIn Recruiter. One, data retention. All the data inside LinkedIn Recruiter that belongs to your team members actually stays with the company. So that means if you have a recruiter that leaves the company, changes jobs, you can transfer that data and interactions over to the next person. Next thing is data and analytics, right? Job clicks, emails you sent, pipeline management. These are all things that you can get in Recruiter that you can't get in your own profile. The third part of it is that LinkedIn Recruiter is actually designed for recruiting. So mass messaging, job posting, management of your team. And whereas your own profile is really designed for networking. Doesn't mean they're not important, your own LinkedIn.com profile, but for scalable, long-term recruitment, LinkedIn Recruiter really does the trick. So I think what I'll do today, because like Steve said, there's a lot of features in LinkedIn Recruiter, and we could have a whole training session. Actually, you can see some of our training consultants out in the front lobby there, is go through a search, a send, and a save. I'll show you a little bit about Talent Pipeline, which is a way to manage your passive pipeline, and then we'll end with looking into your data and analytics and how you can use some of the tools to really track what's going on. So let's hop into an advanced search here. So as you can see, a lot of fields here that you don't get with your own profile. You can see here we can search by company, by title, by location, so on and so forth, and go all the way down the list. We even have some more filters here down here. You could even search through things like your first-degree connections, your second-degree connections, years of experience. So the point is, just like in branding, right? It's one thing to have access to the entire network on LinkedIn Recruiter without having to actually make connections. And you're reaching out to the people who you actually want to, you want them to see your message. Same with the branding, right? So the branding starts first. You establish what kind of messaging you have. Therefore, when you post jobs and you reach out to candidates, the messaging is all consistent. You've kind of completed the cycle of recruitment here. So like I said, it's one thing to post a bunch of jobs and send a bunch of messages, but the branding comes first, and that's where this really comes into play. It can be very powerful and help you establish what we call kind of talent communities. So I'm going to hop in here, and I'm just going to do a search for a registered nurse or RN. Raise of hands, is everybody familiar with Boolean search methods? No? Okay, so some good, some not. So Boolean search methods is kind of a Google term. We use terms like and, capital or, not, and quotations. Quotations when we want to search a phrase together. So I'm going to go ahead and put registered nurse in quotations. And then RN as a keyword. And so what I'm saying is I want registered nurse or RNs to pop up in my search. So let's go ahead and give this a search. And obviously, some of you are thinking, this is going to be ridiculous. There's going to be way too many people on here. Yeah, the answer is yes. But to kind of show how you can use Recruiter, because there's no really right or wrong way to do this, we really want to show you the filters and how they would work, right? Because you might have different filters and another person might have different filters. So we can go along the side here and just take people out, right? We can go by current company. We can go by area. So let's take San Francisco Bay Area. And you can see the numbers here, like Greater Boston, so 16,938. We've now just filtered out all the people who don't live in the Greater San Francisco Bay Area. So now we're working with 15,138 people. And let's say you have a relationship with a local school, right? I only want people that went to the University of California school system and were in the nursing program because you've hired a lot of great nurses there. Well, now we're filtering down to 512 people. So you can see how this can continuously go on until you find the segment of people that you're really looking for. And let's take Heather, for instance, right? Heather's a third-degree connection of me because I'm the LinkedIn Recruiter user. I would never be able to see her entire profile here if I wasn't on the platform. I would see a first name, an initial, and a summary of a profile. And then past my third-degree connection, it would just be, you're not connected to this person. You know, find somebody to connect to that knows that person. We can see here we have a full view of Heather's profile, what they've done, where they go, similar profiles to Heather. People also viewed Heather, that viewed Heather also viewed those people there. We even have spaces and information here to update me, right? So if this person changes their job or updates their profile, it'll show up in my feed of LinkedIn Recruiter. So you can keep track of great candidates, right? Because right now we're managing passive candidates more than likely. Obviously, there's going to be some active folks that we reach out to here too. And you can input different things like statuses, updates, tags, email addresses. So really, Recruiter's more than just sending emails, right? That was kind of what we had before until a couple years ago where Talent Pipeline was released into LinkedIn Recruiter, which really changed the game. Because before, people managed their pipeline through Excel sheets, through resumes in the drawer, things of that nature. Now we've uploaded that type of system inside of LinkedIn Recruiter. So not only can you reach out, but you can also manage your pipeline and feed that to hiring managers. Where are we at with our CFO search, right? We've contacted this many people, they've done this, and here's the process. So we can really filter down and really manage our pipeline and be a little bit more analytical when it comes to recruiting. So let's go back here, and I'll show you a few extra things. I'll show you how we send messages, and I'll hop into talent pipeline. So just for example purposes, I'm just going to grab the first 25 profiles by selecting all on this page. A couple things we can do here. Talking about managing pipeline, we can add tags, we can add notes to all these profiles, we can even add statuses. I contact this person, not interested. You can make up your own terminology to keep track of your pipeline, right? From there, we can send them a message. LinkedIn.com, one message at a time, copy and paste from Word or Notepad. LinkedIn Recruiter, save a template in the system. You can even add attachments, right? Hey, take a look at this document that we've gone through that shows our culture, right? And we can reach out to all these candidates at the same time. They all get an individual message, so it's not a BCC, and they're able to respond one by one. 7-day guaranteed on the in-mail messages. If they don't respond, you get to use it again. So kind of like they roll over like your cell phone minutes. So messaging, right? From here, you'd probably add all those people to your pipeline. So for example purposes, I have a nurse practitioner folder similar to RN, so we'll use it. I want to add all those folks into a folder. So now I don't really necessarily have to run through a Boolean search and find these people anymore. I'm loading them into a folder. I'm creating a pipeline of candidates that I can track that are tagged, their status. You know where they are in the process. So when you pull them up again, you become much more proactive in your recruitment and less reactive. Okay? So from here, let me hop into talent pipeline. We search, send, save, take you into talent pipeline. So as we were talking about before, a couple ways you can use pipeline. And if you want to kind of think of a three-bridge system, right? You have your job postings and your active candidates, right? The kind of the talent pool. In the middle, you have your passive candidate pipeline of people you know are great talent, but they're not necessarily interested enough to apply to your ATS system or to your Outlook box, right? For some of the smaller companies. These are the people that you want to keep your eye on, right? But you necessarily haven't had a way to manage that pipeline before. A couple different ways you can do it. They don't have to have a LinkedIn profile. You can upload their profile from an event, right? You can get somebody's business card. And what we'll do is you can either hand type them in, you can import a resume, or you can import a whole spreadsheet of candidates that you've been managed, and we cross-reference their profiles or their names and phone numbers and emails with LinkedIn.com profiles to see if they have one. If they do, we attach them together, and when we looked at that nurse's profile, it'll show you all the information, their resume attached to it, their email, their phone number, and then their LinkedIn profile. And if they don't, the LinkedIn.com stuff will be blank. So you can manage your pipeline through this avenue here. And then you can keep track of your sources, right? Did they come from your ATS? Did they come from DICE? Did they come from networking, right? And so on and so forth. So you can actually establish where am I getting the most great candidates. It might not be LinkedIn. It could be somewhere else. It could be referrals. And we want to give you a way to alternatively use this platform. And so that coincides to a lot of the data and analytics behind LinkedIn Recruiters. As you can see, reports are a big part of what we do. And behind the scenes, if you really think about LinkedIn, we're a data company. We're a data company of people, and we've created great products for people to use. And so we want to kind of pass that along to you. And so a couple things here. I'm going to transition into pipeline analytics because we're looking at pipeline. A few different reports that you can run. And you'll see here, this will take a while to load up. Fancy charts, right? Same thing we're talking about. We're LinkedIn, so we get a lot of candidates from LinkedIn, as you can see here. Networking, internal, referrals. We can see where's our pipeline. Where's that passive pipeline coming from, right? We can actually search through our candidates that have been messaged. They have notes, they have statuses on them, so we can go right to the source and search the candidate flow. You could think about it like this. You can take people you've contacted in sales for a senior account executive position, go to your sales VP and he says, you're not giving me any candidates. You're like, well, look at this. Here's all the great candidates. And we all know there's a certain dynamic between the hiring manager and the recruiter and the HR team, right? And we want to bridge that gap by providing the data and not just a lot of hearsay. So pipeline management, obviously there's a lot more to this, but you can track your pipeline through LinkedIn also. So we'll transition into in-mail analytics and recruiter usage. Probably not going to go too much into recruiter usage because that's pretty simple. We can tell you how much you're sending messages, what your response rates are, so on and so forth. But in-mails are always an interesting segment. So we recently added in-mail analytics to see how many you've sent, what's your overall response rate. You can break it down by the type of person you're recruiting, your individual recruiter, if you have more than one, how they're personally excelling, right? And you can really take a look at, what are you doing? Is it working? Are you getting no responses, right? Are you getting a lot of declines? Maybe you need to change your messaging. And so there's a lot of things we can do real time here to really take a look at your overall recruiting effort. So I'll transition here, and then we're almost done, is job analytics. So with job analytics, you can take a look at it from kind of an overall segment and then all the way down to an individual segment. You can see here we have senior manager, director, food and beverage director. These are positions that LinkedIn is hiring for right now. And you can see who's viewing them, right? How many applies are you getting? And we can break down that data. We can even go down 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. So you can really, if you go to a particular job, let's see here, if this job is still open, right? We can go look, a director from New York Hotel and Casino clicked on my job, food and beverage director at LinkedIn. I wouldn't think that that would be a place that somebody would look from. So why, maybe I click on that and I say, let's take a look at who it could possibly be. These are all the closest possible matches for that job. You can reach out to them directly from there. So with the analytics and how your job's performing, you can change a job on the fly. You can manage your job in real time. You can show hiring managers how jobs are performing. And for you, you can change it if it's not working. But on the flip end, you can take the data of the people who are looking at it and use your own tool to reach out to them directly. So you can kind of see, like, if brand's the overarching issue, that we kind of solve that and we find out what our story is. Then using LinkedIn Recruiter, using job postings, using LinkedIn.com, using referrals, they all kind of come together in this kind of cycle of recruitment. It doesn't matter how the candidate enters the cycle, whether it's from a job posting or it's from a referral, as long as they get the right messaging, it's the right person at the right time. Questions? Probably not supposed to take questions then. So, cool. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Devin. Thank you. Just going to bring this home quickly, and it's so true, as Devin said. This is not a separate thing, right? It's not like, oh yeah, you got branding over here, you got sourcing over here. Branding powers your sourcing success. Branding powers everything. You're more likely to respond to an in-mail if it comes from an organization that you have a positive sense of. When you click through that in-mail or click through that job posting and start exploring, who the heck are these guys? And you see powerful profiles, you see great company pages, great career pages. All of these things come together. As I said at the outset, brand powers your recruiting outcomes across everything that you do. And it's great that Devin finished on analytics and measurement there, because I promised you some measurement in the brand space, and I'm just going to quickly finish by delivering that. Because measurement is a big issue, isn't it? How do you measure your brand? How do you measure your talent brand? Are you doing well? Are you doing better than you were 2 years ago? Unless you have a big research budget, that's been a real problem. If you've got lots of money, easy, right? Big market surveys, what's your awareness, what's your engagement, what are people saying about you? Then you come back and you run some big expensive advertising campaigns, and you go out and you do another expensive survey and you say, yeah, we moved the needle, or no, we didn't. Great if you've got a huge budget and a lot of time, but most of us don't. LinkedIn has recently brought some measurement into a space where, frankly, most of us have not been measuring because we haven't had a way to do it. And what LinkedIn has brought here is something called Talent Brand Index, which is really easy and really effective. And I'm just going to quickly play this video because it explains it really nicely.
Employer branding has never been more critical than it is in today's talent economy. It can mean the difference between a candidate responding to your opportunities or passing them up. 83% of employers on LinkedIn believe their brand has a significant impact on their ability to hire great talent, but only 1/3 of those employers regularly measure it. So how can you measure your brand? LinkedIn is finally making it simple with the Talent Brand Index. It's a powerful way to measure how attractive your company is to potential candidates on LinkedIn. Billions of interactions take place between professionals and employers on LinkedIn each year. We analyze this data to identify what makes people interested in companies as places to work. First, within the millions of members on LinkedIn, we look at reach, or the number of people who are familiar with you as an employer. This includes people who view your employees' profiles or connect with them. Then we look at engagement, or the number of people who show an interest in your brand. This includes people who proactively engage your company by viewing your career page or company page, following your company, or viewing jobs. Your Talent Brand Index is engagement divided by reach and measures the percent of people who know about your company that also express an interest. In other words, how well you attract potential candidates in your talent pool. The higher your index score, the easier it is to attract the right professionals for your role. Your Talent Brand Index helps you understand how your brand stacks up against your peers, how your multiple talent brands are perceived by job function or geography, and how your talent brand changes over time. You can't manage what you can't measure. Find out your company's Talent Brand Index today and learn how to elevate your talent brand on LinkedIn by visiting talent.linkedin.com/talent brand index or contact your LinkedIn representative.
Pretty cool, right? And it really nicely adjusts for company size because it's all based on starting with that reach. So obviously a smaller company will have less reach to start with, but it's not about the absolute numbers, it's about the portions. It's about what percentage of people who are aware of you have done something to show engagement. It's a really quick and easy and powerful measurement of how well you're perceived as an employer. And it's really great to see where you stack up against your competitive set as well, right? We know basically who your competitive set is because we see the talent flows. We see when people join your company, we see where they came from. And we see when people leave your company, where do they go? We have a pretty good sense from all that data of what your competitive set is, and if maybe we've missed one or two, you tell us and we put it in there. And we can deliver this data to you. Now, we're not gonna tell you exactly what, let's say this is your competitive set. You're gonna see that you're at 14%, you're kind of in the middle of the pack, and here's who we've identified as your competitive set. We're not gonna tell you which one of those competitors is at 18 and which one's at 9, any more than we're not going to share your specific data with anyone else. What you're seeing is where you sit within your competitive set. So amongst this group of companies, you're in the middle. Now, as you do some things and as you develop your career page and you run some recruitment media and you get your employees engaged and do stuff, now you can go back and remeasure. Are you moving the needle? And as it mentioned in the video, it's not just one number. What's your brand status amongst engineers versus salespeople versus others? It might be really different. What about if you recruit globally? You might be superstars here at home and totally unknown where you're opening up a new operation. You need to understand that. And then as you conduct activities there to build your brand, you need to be able to measure it and see how you're doing. And again, it was really expensive and really difficult before. Now it's easy and it's free. Because, as I said a few minutes ago, this is an iterative process of engagement, measurement, improvement, engagement, measurement, improvement. And it's something that you are going to be doing for the rest of your careers because this is an absolutely vital piece of success in today's recruitment world. So, coming back to these takeaways, I hope that I've delivered on these. I'm here all day, as they say. If I haven't, come get me. Brand is vital. It fuels everything you do. It fuels your recruiting outcomes across all of your activities. Brand is for every organization, not just sexy industries, not just rich companies. Regardless of your size, industry, or geography, brand is a vital opportunity for you, and even more so if you're small and lesser known because of the power of those organizations that you're up against. And number 3, brand is now. I think it's clear that you can do things today on minuscule budgets compared to the past that you could never have done. Brand is vital, brand is for everyone, and brand is now. And with that, I would like to conclude. I would like to thank you for your time, and I would like to introduce my colleague, Robert, who is going to bring up a couple of your peers and have a conversation, not only about brand, but about recruitment success in all its many wonderful facets. So, over to you, Robert.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Robert Rye, and I'm account executive for LinkedIn right here in San Francisco. And it's my pleasure to introduce you to Mr. Chauncey Brooks, who is a manager of talent acquisition for Quantcast, arguably a sexy industry, big data, right? Please have a seat, Chauncey. And I also have with us Brian Patoto, who is a senior director of global talent acquisition for Marvell. And I don't mean to cast any aspersions, but some people would say that maybe semiconductors are not so sexy. So we thought we'd bring you a couple of our clients so that you could learn about what they're doing within the realm of talent acquisition and also branding. So I'm going to start off by asking them some questions so we can get to know them a little bit better about their organizations, the culture of it, and then I'm going to open it up to the audience. So if you have some questions in mind as this progresses, you'll have an opportunity to ask them directly. So Brian, how important is talent acquisition at Marvell? And can you tell us a little bit about the culture of your organization and so forth?
Yeah, sure. I'm happy to be here today, so thanks everybody for the opportunity. So I joined Marvell a little over 6 months ago, and prior to Marvell, I was at a company called Brocade. And the reason why I joined Marvell is it's a company that is very much in transformation, and talent acquisition has not been a priority. They have in fact succeeded in spite of their lack of employer brand and not being able to drive that to continue to recruit successfully. So we've got about 7,000 employees globally. My talent acquisition team globally is about 30 folks. And I'm looking to grow that, and LinkedIn is a huge part of that strategy in terms of where I see our focus as being, and that is around branding, and a huge part of that is personal branding. So I think that's something that was shared today very, very nicely. And if each of you as talent acquisition professionals is not the, I guess I'll call it the chief marketing officer for HR at your company, it's something that I would suggest that you strongly start considering. I'm very passionate around it, and so that's why I joined Marvell. We don't have a very strong brand. It's in the works. When I left Brocade, if you did a search on LinkedIn for IP networking jobs, I'm positive that at least 8 of the top 10 results were Brocade recruiters. So that's a testament to how well you can brand yourself and your company and your team.
And Chauncey, what about you? How important is talent acquisition at Quantcast?
Well, it's really crucial. It's actually our #1 imperative for the year. Digital advertising is a very crowded network right now, and there are a lot of companies out there that talk a big game about applying machine learning to the problems of targeted advertising. And really what separates, I think, Quantcast from the rest of the pack is really the fact that we have a fantastic team. And really, I think, having a fantastic team in place is really what separates you from your competitors. One thing I learned at Google, and has really proved true here, is that good people really want to work with other really smart, really top-tier kind of people. And if you can put that out there and really ensure that people understand that that's an inherent part of your culture and your brand, I mean, that's a pretty huge win. When I started about 5 years ago, we had no brand. I mean, we were a 27-person company, and we had a one-room office, and every interaction with a candidate was, you're like a missionary. You're out there evangelizing what Quantcast is, soup to nuts, and from all the way from informing someone who's probably very unfamiliar as to what the challenges are in advertising, informing of the entire industry, what are the problems we're solving, why we're unique, and then what the opportunity is. Branding has played a really huge role in our actually being able to jumpstart a lot of conversations with the kinds of people we want to interact with.
Sounds great. You mentioned starting out very small. How have you seen talent acquisition change over the past several years?
Well, I think that at a more macro level, what I've seen is that there's been a lot of talent maybe kind of 2 or 3 years ago that went to very small companies, and this is primarily engineers, maybe doing their own company even, and that locked up a lot of talent. I'm seeing a lot of that kind of loosen up now a little bit, and they're going to mid-sized companies a little bit more, going to larger companies. I think from a standpoint of tactics and tools and that sort of thing, one of the big constants has been LinkedIn, and I think that the way that LinkedIn has sort of evolved their tools over the last, call it 5 years or so, has been really instrumental in our team being successful, because we're able to reach out to a much more targeted kind of group of people. We can understand the entire marketplace for a very, very niche kind of skill set, understand what the top 10 people in the United States look like, and then inform our search from there. So that's sort of a little bit of what I've seen. Yeah.
Sounds great. Brian, we were talking a little bit about cultural shifts. So in terms of seeing talent acquisition change over the past several years, what does that look like potentially culturally at an organization?
Well, for one thing, and it was mentioned earlier in the presentation, the thing that's happening in the recruiting industry is this transformation from, I'll just call it transactions, because we're all recruiters and we love closing candidates. That is still a very primary focus for any recruiter. But right now, everything is about engagement. That was very clear in this presentation. It's something that I'm a huge proponent of. And it's not just my recruiting team that I'm trying to get to engage with candidates. It's very important that I get the entire employee population engaged. And that is really a huge part of my new mission, right, over the last few years as we've seen social media explode. We're not just recruiters. Our job is to help get the rest of the company to evangelize our mission, because candidates are much more likely to reach out to one of them, to an engineer, to a hiring manager. And so that iterative process of job seeking is completely changed, and we're no longer the gatekeepers. Right? We're just a piece of that puzzle. And the faster that we can all make that dynamic shift to being engagement professionals, I think the faster recruiting will continue to evolve with all this change that's going on.
Sounds like you're talking about utilizing the employees as ambassadors.
Absolutely.
How do you see, or the importance of brand, your company's employment brand fitting into your role?
Oh, it's critical. I mentioned that I joined Marvell because the employment brand is lacking, and we hired the company actually that did the rebranding for Domino's Pizza. I don't know if you've seen all their ads about how they're no longer delivering pizzas in 30 minutes, and they're taking their time to make it, yada yada yada. So we hired that consulting company to help us reestablish our culture, if you will. And so they came up with this thing called the culture of accountability. And for me as a new person, well, that's just kind of common sense. But regardless of where the company's at, in helping to drive this culture of accountability throughout the organization, what I would love to do is be able to take the key components of that and use that to create our employment branding message and our talent branding message. But until we can, really formulate that, I'm kind of at a crossroads, because right now we're competing against other companies that are well branded. And our big message is, well, we hire really smart engineers, and we all know that everybody hires really smart engineers. So it's really difficult to compete, and it has come down to the one-to-one relationship. So it's crucial to being successful.
So are there any other things you're doing to address those challenges? It sounds like it's a tough recruiting environment.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're certainly using LinkedIn. I actually doubled our investment in LinkedIn this year over last year, and we're pushing it globally in terms of how we're branding ourselves. Mentioned earlier, there's a lot of free widgets and things that you can use, but there's also a lot of the paid components that I think there's a lot of value in. But we're also using Facebook, we're using Twitter, and there's a lot of free stuff out there. And just the key is to start driving a very consistent message, and even if it's a small message, every little bit helps.
Sounds good. Chauncey, how about you? Is LinkedIn just one of your channels? Are you on other social media?
Yeah, it's definitely just one of the channels. We definitely leverage things like Facebook and Twitter to sort of get a bit more amplification to any kind of events we're going to, if we're doing meetups or going to speak at a university or something like that. I think Brian really touched on something very important, which is the employees are the brand. I mean, what we've really tried to do, especially on our careers page, and I think that LinkedIn does as well, is that we want to showcase these people that have come in and built really great careers in a really short amount of time with a company that has grown really quickly. And that inherently, I mean, that's the opportunity that I'm selling every day. I mean, many times you can't compete on a cash basis with really big companies, but people come to a medium-sized company or to a growing company because there's a lot of opportunity there.
What about metrics? We talked a bit about metrics. LinkedIn delivers a lot, that are included in solutions. Brian, what metrics do you track?
So I actually used the LinkedIn metrics too. I had to get my CEO to approve the actual spend for LinkedIn. And last year we hired 29% of the people that hired at Marvell in some way were touched or impacted by LinkedIn, and that's a stat that you guys track very nicely. For my recruiters right now, I'm not measuring them, but I can measure them using LinkedIn in terms of how successfully are they using it, are they engaging with candidates, how many candidates are they engaging with, how long is it taking for people to respond. I see the value in the LinkedIn recruiter, and I might get in trouble for saying this, I see the value in that piece changing, and it becomes more of a facilitator. When I first started recruiting, I would get like 90% responses from my in-mails. Now I'm going to guess that the industry average is probably 10% or somewhere in that neighborhood. I don't know, Chancey, right? And so recruiters get frustrated because they're like, well, I'm sending all these in-mails, but nobody's responding. Well, it's because they're missing the engagement piece. And so I'm going to use that to try to connect to people, but I have to have a consistent message that's going out there. And those are the stats I'm more interested in looking at, is how well are we engaging with the passive candidates.
So what are some things you might look at to find a way of engaging with somebody who right now is looking like a stranger to you?
Well, I think it was mentioned earlier, instead of just saying, hey, are you interested in a job, send me your resume, or I'm looking at your profile, create talent communities, create groups, create ways to interact and engage with candidates. And the faster you see those groups grow, those are people that are interested in some way, shape, or form in your company. And that's what was mentioned earlier as well. And that is a much more important focus for me, is how do I get people just interested in listening? Because I don't know when they're going to decide, it's midnight and they're sitting in front of their TV, they happen to be surfing, they're like, oh, so-and-so just went to work at Marvell. I know them. I wonder who they're connected to. Oh, I wonder what Glassdoor says. So that process, like I said, it's different. And it's my job to make sure that, as a talent acquisition function, we're doing everything we can to promote those messages.
This question would be for both of you. Chauncey first. What about mobile? You seeing any engagement through mobile? Folks clicking on jobs you may be interested in, or actual dialogues opening up on the mobile side?
I don't know. We haven't really dug into that too much.
Ryan?
I would say for me, it's not something we're tracking, but I mean, when I was watching in the back, I was on my phone. I was surfing candidate profiles of people because I'm trying to hire recruiters. I don't have the LinkedIn app on my phone or my iPad, and incidentally, you guys got to take that splash page down because I don't want to put the app on my iPad. But now I can't use it, But anyway, I think it's a huge thing, and for me, if I can find a way to get candidates, to give candidates and my employees a very easy way to either share jobs or apply to jobs from their phone or from their iPad, it's absolutely the best candidate experience that I'd be able to deliver.
Sounds good. How many people are you hoping to hire this year for your organization?
We'll probably hire close to 1,600 globally.
And Chauncey?
We're looking for around 100 to 150.
And so LinkedIn is important to you being able to achieve that?
No, absolutely.
Yeah. Crucial. Absolutely. It's a central tool. I mean, it's the admission price, to get into the game.
Some of the folks here might be working at organizations where they're wondering about ways of getting started, or how to, within their organization, get the management buy-in to, proceed with LinkedIn. Would you have any advice for them?
I mean, I think you got to look at what your competitors are doing. I found that's always a great way to try and generate buy-in at a very senior level internally, is to say, look, this is what our competition is doing to attract talent. If we want to grow by X amount this year, that represents Y amount of activity, and this is the tool by which we do that.
Sounds good. Thank you. Anybody in the audience have any questions they'd like to ask our panelists? No, but yes?
If employee engagement is central, how do you push your staff to really get involved into like updating their profile, engaging people who would be interested in joining your company? Because that's kind of the take that I've been doing, is pushing jobs to employees because they know people who would be interested and they understand the industry and doing that. But how do you kind of really excite them about jumping on board with that?
That's a great question.
Yeah, I'm happy to fill that one. So the first thing for me is I have to be leading by example, and my team has to be leading by example. I'm in the process right now of getting my team that I've inherited bought into this whole notion of branding. So there's a great article. It's called A Brand Called You, and it's just Google it. It's a Fast Company article. I make all of my whole team read that article, and then we've had discussions around it and why, what's the importance of branding myself individually. And some people are opposed to being online. I have people on my team that don't even have Facebook accounts, or they have LinkedIn accounts, but they won't put their picture on it. You have to become the champion. You have to become the chief marketing officer for HR. You really do. And if I would be very surprised if your executives, especially your head of HR and marketing and sales, don't buy into this and help you. The greatest thing I can do is leverage my partners over in marketing and sales, because they have way more budget than I'm ever going to have. So you get really good at being creative and pulling in their expertise. And we've had people from marketing come and we've done photo days, because I'm trying to get all of HR branded. And so you have to be the educator. You have to do miniature presentations like this one and teach your company why branding is important, and why, if you're not on board with it, you're crippling our ability to recruit.
Chauncey?
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of work, right? When we did our careers page again, we were sure to put a piece in where it's a scrolling bar where it showcases different employees. And you'd be surprised how hard it is to find people that want to put their picture up on the site and talk about themselves. So, that was a lot of work. We did a lot of legwork to actually find people and really make it as easy for them to be involved in this as possible. I think the other big piece is, you have to understand from your CEO or the founders or whoever is at the top, what is their vision of the culture, because everyone really takes their lead from them. And then you can drive that out to the hiring managers who will help you drive it into the people that they're working with and that sort of thing. So that's sort of what we've done.
And I would add a couple things. One is that talent brand playbook that is going to be sent to everybody actually has some checklists on ways of getting started on just this type of thing. So that will hopefully make it easy for you. And really what you're asking about was the inspiration behind the Work With Us advertising product, because it's hard to manage and insist upon referrals. LinkedIn has found a way to automate that by putting advertisements on each of those employees' profiles, so that you don't have to rely on them to, think about actively sourcing, if you will, their friends. Anybody else have a question they would like to ask Chauncey or Brian?
Yeah, this is for Brian. I'm just curious, in sourcing candidates, has your relationship with LinkedIn reduced your usage of third-party recruiters? And if so, how much?
Absolutely, it has. That recruiters have always seen our value, on my Rolodex. LinkedIn is a global Rolodex, so we are very successful doing executive search, doing very targeted searches, and so as a result of that, we're able to, find the same candidates that agencies are able to find. And right now, from the time I inherited the team, we were probably making 50% of our hires using outside agencies. That number is gradually decreasing, and so a better metric for me is when I left Brocade, we were doing 1% of hiring from outside agencies, and when I inherited that team there, it was like 25%. So LinkedIn is definitely a huge piece of that.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I mean, it's been huge in decreasing our dependence on external recruiters. I mean, at this point, we rarely use them, typically only if we're going into a foreign market we're unfamiliar with or something like that.
Yeah, actually, we ran at Brocade, we ran a VP of Asia search from the US because everybody in that region was on LinkedIn. So pretty easy to narrow it down. And we interviewed a few exec search firms. They all wanted $100 grand for the search. I had a recruiter on my team that did the search for free. So, and we successfully hired.
So we could say that's another metric that's being tracked by the organization is ROI from investment in LinkedIn, perhaps?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Okay,
yeah.
good. Anybody else? Yes.
Hi. I was curious how you guys leverage your ATS system, assuming that you use one with LinkedIn, and how it can integrate and be used more than just kind of a application system.
So, one of the things that I think is really interesting with the recruiter tool that they kind of touched on was the metrics. That's the first time I've seen a way to actually track someone from when they were a cold sourced lead to when they become a hire. So that, and I think having a good ATS that you feel confident you can pull data out of is really important. That was a pretty interesting light bulb moment for me when I saw that you could leverage that kind of data. In terms of really driving more referrals and that sort of thing through ATS, we definitely give everybody a seat in the system, everyone in the company. And I think that's really important, is that the more inclusive an ATS you have, the more people feel like they've got a seat at the table when it comes to making decisions about candidates and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I would say, so I inherited a system called Virtual Edge. I don't know if anybody uses that. And it pretty much integrates with nothing.
How do you really feel?
So, we have ADP for payroll, so they kind of give it to you for free. But the problem is that the problem is that it creates, among other things, is the lack of ability to effectively track all of my recruiting efforts and my campaigns unless I'm very specifically tagging each campaign. And so the thing for me, I would say, is we use LinkedIn as a CRM. You've got the recruiter seats, the contacts that are being cataloged and put into folders. Use those, get those into your ATS. Unless you're fortunate enough to have a true web-based ATS that probably has much better integration and links already with LinkedIn and Facebook. But for me, it's definitely a pain.
Chauncey, you're using an ATS or using?
We are, yeah. We're using JobVite right now. It's an interesting tool in that it's probably the most lightweight ATS that I've seen, and we've gone through maybe 3 or 4 in my time there, and each transition was painful. But JobVite I like because as I said, everyone can have a seat at the table, and it scales indefinitely. So you can have a 1,000-person company and everyone can get in for the same price as a 10-person company. I also like the fact that the user experience is very easy and very fast, right? So I mean, if you think about it, recruiters are salespeople, right? And so they're going to do as little admin work in the ATS as they possibly can. But JobVite is really nice because it's literally a set of like 3 clicks and they can move on and get about the rest of their day. So that's what we've really optimized for, and that's why we went with them, yeah.
And do you take advantage of any of the integrations that are available?
A little bit,
LinkedIn?
yeah. Definitely the LinkedIn integration I think is automatic, which is really nice. We haven't done too much work with sort of the referral-based engine there, just because we think about referrals a little bit differently. We really try and make sure that the referrals come in for our employees are people they actually know or actually can recommend or speak to. And I think the way that JobVite has it set up, it actually really just sort of acts as a bit more of a cold sourcing tool. But yeah, so.
Okay, sounds good. One of the interesting things about that Work With Us product that we were talking about is you can actually have it turned on in such a way that people from outside the organization would see, hey, come work with us at engineering at Quantcast or another organization, but there's also there's an internal version where if somebody comes from inside the organization, it reminds them about the referral program. So you can actually take advantage of this inside perspective and outside perspective, and some organizations have had success with that. So any other questions from folks in the audience for our esteemed panelists? No questions? Okay. Is there one? No? Okay, well, thank you very much, both of you. I appreciate your time. And I believe Damien is going to come up and speak a few words and close us today.
Well, thank you very much, both of you. I always find it most exciting to hear how all those things that we talk about theoretically are actually being put to practice in the field. Because every time I learn something a little bit new. I had a great discussion actually last night with Chauncey about his use of JobVite and our use of JobVite. It's always a challenge to get all of your systems to speak together. Anyway, so I wanted to thank everyone here very much for coming. Our photo booth is now up and operational, so I was thinking about taking advantage of it a little bit later too. I have a very, soft lighting sort of photo up now, which helps. But maybe those guys can do an even better job out there. But anyway, so I want to thank you very much. I hope everyone here has learned a little bit today, has a little clearer picture about talent brand, at least why we think it's important. Hopefully you agree with us. And a couple things that I'll ask of you. First of all, take a look on the back of your name tag. I don't have anything back here myself because I'm already a LinkedIn employee, but your dedicated LinkedIn contact will be on the back. If you don't have anything there, that's fine. You can reach out to me. You can reach out to any of the folks in the back, anyone with a orange band, and say, hey, who should I talk to? One of the things, definitely ask that person, hey, can you send me that talent brand index thing that I saw? I found it really helps start a very interesting conversation with your team. And also, please download the Employer Brand Playbook. It's got a lot of step-by-step to take some of the broader things that we talked about today and really help you start to think through them, implement them, and get your team started on this path. So thanks again, photo booth. Folks in orange, look on the back. And any questions, I'm here to help. Any of those folks are here to help. And our esteemed panelists are in the back. So thank you very much.